So Donald Trump and Rudy Giuliani are both being sued by the NAACP and by Member of Congress Bernie Thompson for their role in inciting the events at the Capitol on the 6th of January. And I want to read you some words from that lawsuit. It says here, the defendants each intended to prevent and ultimately delayed members of Congress from discharging their duty commanded by the United States Constitution to approve the results of the Electoral College in order to elect the next president and vice president of the United States. Pursuing a purpose shared by defendants Trump and Giuliani, as well as defendant Proud Boys, defendant Oath Keepers, played a leadership role of the riotous crowd and provided military-style assistance sufficient to overcome any police resistance. And so basically what the NAACP and what Bernie Thompson are alleging is that Donald Trump and Rudy Giuliani, as well as a couple of right-wing organizations very supportive of Trump, all conspired to basically try and prevent members of Congress from doing their jobs, which is against the law. You're basically preventing people from fulfilling their constitutional duty. On that particular day, the duty was to certify the election results, formally making Joe Biden and Kamala Harris president and vice president. And so they're arguing that Donald Trump's speech, as well as Rudy Giuliani's trial by combat, comment that he made that we covered on this channel, that constituted incitement, and under legislation, they are guilty. And for more information here, it says, the unusual lawsuit relies on novel legal reasoning under an act from 1871, which prohibits efforts to prevent any person from discharging their duties by force, intimidation, or threat. It would be the first time this law is used as a penalty against a former president. If the suit is successful, although he's being sued as a private citizen rather than his official capacity. With the benefit of not having to prove criminal allegations beyond a reasonable doubt, the civil lawsuit filed Tuesday in U.S. District Court in Washington, D.C. on behalf of Thompson in his personal capacity by the NAACP and by civil rights law firm Cohen, Milstein, Sellers, and Toll, sought unspecified compensatory and punitive damages. The lawsuit is suing Trump in his personal capacity, alleging that he acted outside the scope of his office when inciting the rioters. And so this is why this is a very complex lawsuit. On the whole, I agree with this, right? This is a member of Congress suing in his personal capacity, arguing, for instance, that Donald Trump and Rudy Giuliani caused him harm because he is a man in his 70s and that this act, especially with COVID, put him at increased risk. And so he is seeking damages on a personal level, but it's also related to an act from the 1870s, an act that was designed to crush right-wing, racist, white nationalist, white supremacist opposition to democracy in the South. That groups like the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers, who can trace their roots back to those men that wore the white hats, they hide themselves and they burned things in people's lawns. Those laws were designed to stop those people. And I can think of nothing more appropriate, frankly, than to use that legislation here. I can think of nothing more appropriate. Donald Trump and Rudy Giuliani and those groups have a direct lineage to the anti-democratic efforts that existed after the Civil War in the South, when black people got rights and the white majority couldn't handle it. 100% appropriate. Now, the question is going to be, is this appropriate as a civil lawsuit? Is this really a civil lawsuit? What are the mechanics of it? Is Trump really acting in a private citizen when he did that? Or was he acting as president? Of course, he was still president at that moment. He would be president for another 2 weeks when he gave that speech. So we have a lot to uncover here. We have a lot that's going to come out of the woodwork on this lawsuit, but in a thematic sense, this is very powerful and poignant and appropriate. Donald Trump, Rudy Giuliani, and other anti-democratic groups that want nothing more than to preserve unearned white power in the United States conspire to tear down democracy with thuggish actions on the 6th. They are guilty of that. I don't care how that guilt gets asserted, whether it was through impeachment or whether it's through criminal trials or whether it's through civil liability. Trump must pay somehow. And if this is how he does end up paying, even though I'm sort of skeptical about how this lawsuit's going to work, all the better for it. Donald Trump conspired to destroy democracy, and he should be destroyed financially, legally, and in any way possible within the bounds of the law.